Hello, welcome to the channel. Today's video is all about my nature hide, how I construct it and what's it all about. Let's take a look. Right, we find ourselves in the woods. Now I've got a new project I'm going to do, and that's a hide. So there's a couple of reasons why I want the hide. One is obviously for nature watching. Kids will get in there, watch birds, squirrels. And the second reason for the hide is also for shooting as well, pest control or vermin control. So yeah, your rabbits, your squirrels, the pigeons. So yeah, I've got a spot in the woods here, bit of a clearing. A tree come down there not so long back, so I'm going to cut that up as well, get that out of the way, and build this hide and take it along for the ride. So here's the frame. I'm going to be pointing in that direction. That's where the feeding station is going to be. The hell's that? Right, so the frame, pretty straightforward. I've done this last Saturday afternoon. It's a 6x2 frame, and all the timbers are 2.4 meters long, or 8 foot. So you buy the timbers in 4.8 meter lengths, or 16 foot, come straight in half, then there's no waste. So it's an 8 foot by 8 foot square, or 2.4 meters by 2.4 meters. Right, what is the frame sitting on? So I've got some ground screws. Yeah, the ground screws, I should have put them in the ground really, but they're pretty straightforward. They're a galvanized screw. You just screw them to the ground at a depth you need. You see this one? And then the timber then is fixed on a threaded bar and bolted down. Just see this one? So there's the ground screw and the bar bolted there. So the 6x2s themselves, they're sitting on an 8x2, which is these beasts. So there's two of them, this one obviously and that one over there. And then to make life easy, just put a 2x2 on the bottom, and that 6x2 sits on the top. And then just fix these timber drive fixings on there. 400mm centres. The timber's in the middle. See these? That's what you call noggins. They're set halfway. And I just nailed them each side of the line. Just makes it easier to get the fixings in. And they're just there to stop any twist or movement of the joists. So I've used 8x2 for the two main bearers on either end, 6x2 for the joists in between. They'll span 8 foot, no problem at all. So the next thing I do now is get a deck. So I'm going to use 8x1 metallized boards for that. It's something we use for our cabins, and yeah, it's cheap, it's cheerful, but it does the job. So next job, I'm going to get 16 foot or 4.8 meter lengths of 8x1 and come straight in half, and it should then fit straight on top of this. Let's have a look at that. Now when you're putting these boards down, sometimes there's a natural curl in the board, and it usually corresponds with the rings on the end grain. So that curl, you want to make sure it's face down. Yeah, so the curl here, that should go on the bottom. What you don't want is the opposite way around, otherwise as the boards dry out, they'll curl up, and then it'll be raised on both ends. Now the nails I'm using to nail these boards down are a 50mm or 2-inch collated nail. Now these I usually use in the nail guns, but I just separate them off their packs, off their slips, held together by cardboard. You can just break them off like this. This just saves me getting a nail gun out. I can just use these with the old-fashioned hammer and brute strength. Right, now I've got the base down, as you can see. It's time to get the walls up. Now before the walls go up, I'm going to put a base plate down, or sole plate. Made out of 4x2, and what this is just a footprint of the actual hide itself, or little cabin, whatever we're making. So yeah, I'll get this set out. I'll go for a 2 meter square cabin or hut. So I got two lengths at 2 meters, and I got two lengths of 2 meters less, two lots of the thickness of that. That will give us the internal walls. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to set them up, square them up, and just fix them down to the base. Then I'll pre-make the panels for the walls, and they'll just sit straight on top of this salt plate. That's the idea anyway. So yeah, let's get to that. So what I'm going to do first is just nail my base plate or salt plate together in the square that I want. And I'll just nail all the corners together so it forms that frame. Now we've got our base frame nailed together. Just one nail in each corner just to hold it. So we get that in the right position now, square it up, then temporarily fix it to the base before screwing it down. Right, to make sure the building is square, once you've got your salt plate down, just measure corner to corner. Just take your tape, hook them over the corner, go to the opposite corner, read the measurements. In old money it's 111.25 or 2 meters 828. Now we'll just go to the opposite corners, measure them. Now if it's square, it should be the same. So what we got, 111.25 or 2 meters 828, yeah. So that's pretty much square. Now another way you can square up your corners is measuring 3, 4 and 5. So in the corner of any building you want to square up, if we just measure off there 3, we go 300, yeah, but it could be 600, it could be 30 inches, it could be whatever. So it's 3. Then on this side we measure 4, so this again we'll go 400. Always make sure you're measuring off the same starting point. So we've got 400, again it could be 800 or it could be 40 inches. Now between the two marks it should be 5. There you are, spot on, 5. Or 500 mil on that one, but it could, again, could be a meter or it could be 50 inches. So as long as you've got 3, 4 and 5, you know you're square. Now we've got the salt plate in the right place. I'm going to fix it down with these 4-inch tech screws or timber drive screws. Need a specialist bit for that, but you can use any screws, or if you really want to, some 4-inch nails. Good thing about these, they all pull it down real tight, and yeah, they'll never come off. So if you did want to take it off, obviously you can unscrew them, but yeah, these are a great fix in. Well, that's the base frame or salt plate all fixed down, and next job now is to make the walls. Make them in the shed, so let's go do that. So we're in the shed now. I've just cut some timbers for the back and the front wall. So we've got the top plate and bottom plate plus all the studs. So next job is nail them all together. So these two timbers, this is my base and my top plate for the wall. So the first job we're going to do is mark out where my studs are going. So I'm going to put the studs at every 600, which is good enough for this hide or cabin we're doing. Now if you was building a load bearing wall, you want to put the studs every 400, but every 600 is enough for this. So we'll just mark them out. So just use a square then, just so I can mark the both together. I'll just put a C on it for centre. There we are, all laid out. Now it's time to nail it all up. So we've done the front and back walls. We're going to do the side walls next. We're doing it exactly the same way, framing out. But this time, because there's a slope on the roof, there'll be an angle on top of the studs. So the easiest way to work out is just lay out the studs in the wall as they go in, and put your top plate on and mark up each stud with the angle. Once you've got that angle, transfer it to the chop saw, and then way to go. Happy cutting. So that angle cut then will be the same for all your studs on your side walls, plus for the top plate it will be your plumb line angle on the ends. So yeah, let's nail it all together. Now I've got the wall framed, and I'm just putting this OSB board in on the top. Now it's not something you have to do, but I like doing this because it keeps the frame nice and square. The sheets themselves, when the machine cut, they're nice and square, so all you got to do is nail a corner, nail up the far end of your stud, so that's nice and flush up the line. Then just knock your bottom base plate in line with the sheet, and that should be nice and square. Now another good tip as well is to pre-mark your line on the board where your studs are. That way you know where you're nailing and you're not missing any. Also, a good advantage of the OSB board is rigidity. I think that's the word. So yeah, it makes everything rigid. You don't got to worry about putting braces in. If it's all nail tidy to the OSB board, nice and square, yeah, it will hold its shape, be rigid, hopefully true and plumb. As you can see, I've got the walls up. I had a bit of help from the lads to get the walls up. But yeah, all screwed down. Now if your base is nice and level and your walls are square, when you put them down on your base plate, everything should be plumb and upright. This base is a little bit out, so all I've done is to wedge certain places. So yeah, a couple of plastic shims or wedges just to lift up the one corner. That brought everything plumb in. Screwed together. Using these tech screws all along the side of the walls, along the base, about every 2 foot roughly. So when putting the walls on the base plate, where the base plate is joined to the corners, on the walls you bond the joint, so the one overlaps the other. I don't know if you can quite see it here. So this base plate stops there on this side, but the wall carries on. Then this base plate carries on, but this wall stops there. So you do that on the base plate, and then you do the opposite then on the wall plate, on the top plate. The last job of the walls now is to put the wall plate on, which links all the walls together. So here's the front wall plate. Let's say it bonded the joint. So here's the wall. This one carries over, connects to this wall panel. Then this one in slots in here, and that goes right round the building. And that just connects everything together. So once I've got this screwed down, next job is get the roof on. Right, there's the roof on. Now I just kept it nice and simple. I just took 4.8 metre lengths of timber, cut them in half, so you've got 2.4 metres or 8 foot. Now I've got a slight overhang on the roof past the wall. So what I've done is created a ladder. So off this internal roof rafter to the exterior one, we just put these links in between. It's called a ladder. As you can see, it looks a bit like a ladder. The runs 1, 2, 3 and so on. And then in between the ladder then we just use these 4x2s to block off the gap between the roof and the wall. So at the bottom of the roof I also got this gap on the underside of the roof over top of the wall. So what we got to do is just cut 4x2s and put them in them slots and these gaps. And that will block off that gap and stop birds and whatever flying under your roof and getting inside. So instead of going up and down a ladder, what I'll do now, I'll create a cutting list. So I'll measure and write down each one. So all these across here, a few up the sides, along the front. I say write them all down, take them to the saw, and then cut them all in one go. Bring them up here and nail them all home. Well, that's all the framing complete now. There's the roof all done. Plus all the walls. So the next job is to put the felt on and then sheet it up and clad it. Oh, and put the windows and doors in. Oh, and then put the stuff inside. But yeah, apart from that, it's all done. Right, I felted the roof. Now this is a breathable membrane, roofing membrane. It will allow water vapour through, but it won't let water droplets in. That's the idea. So I've just put 3 counter battens on the roof because I'm going to use metal sheeting or box section sheeting. And this also allows water, if there is any water on the felt, to go underneath the battens and run off. So that's it for the roof, except for the sheeting. Now we're going to put the felt or the breathable membrane on the walls as well. Let's get to that. Well, there's the hide all covered in breathable membrane and counter battens, all ready for the external cladding. You see I folded it in through the windows and doors, any openings. Yeah, this might be a bit extreme, but build it right and build it once, isn't it? So next job is get some roofing sheets. I've got a few spare lying about the place, so I'll cut them up and get them on the roof. Let's go. There we are, we've got the sheets up and I'm just screwing them down. So I'm using these hex screws, or tech some people call them. So they're a roofing screw, but they've got a rubberized grommet. So when screwing down it seals, so it won't let the water in, hopefully. So yeah, you screw them on with the, obviously, hex bit, and the sheets themselves are screwed down to the counter battens I put on previously. And you fix these down then on the flat part of the roof, not on the raised bit. So yeah, that will seal it shut. And what I've done, I've overlapped the sheets from the west to the east, because that's where we mostly get the weather. I'll finish screwing these down now, and then next job will be the cladding. Oh, there we are, down in one piece. When I was in my 20s, working on the building sites, I'll be up and down the roofs like a mountain goat. But not so much these days. More like the opposite, whatever that is. Right, that's the roof on. And I've just knocked myself up a bit of a desk and a bench. Pretty straightforward, really. Just made out of 3x2 CLS. And the frame for the desk, exactly the same. Ply on the top, set about 900, which is counter top height, and then just use 3 of them then with a central support for a bench. Keep it simple, easy to do, and takes my weight. Yeah, should be okay to go. Right, let's get on to this cladding. Right, time for cladding. I was going to clad this in 8x1 tannalized, but I found some offcuts of a Douglas fir that we use for cladding our cabins. This is rebaited, so it slots together. They're all short pieces, but there should be enough here to do the front. And I use the 8x1 end for the sides and the back. It might look a bit higgledy-piggledy, if that's a word, but yeah, it's just using up the waste, isn't it? Right, let's do some cutting and nail this on. Right, got my last piece of cladding to go on. Be glad to see the back of it. And then once that's on, I just got to make a couple of shutters for the windows and a door. That should be job done. There we are, there's the shutters made. So I split it in two, so you can open it right out, or just have half open. So yeah, a couple of different options. Again, just simple construction. So just the same boards I use for the back and the side cladding. A couple of ledges on it, and a string pulley system. You can see the door. So the door is just the same. Ledge and brace door, keep it simple. 3 boards, some T-hinges. Let's say ledge and brace. So we've got the ledges across, they hold the door together, and then the braces, they stop the door from dropping. So yeah, that does the job. Hopefully keep pests out. And then the shutters inside, like I say, just work on a little bit of a pulley system. So they just open and shut with the strings. So the last thing I do now is obviously tidy up my mess. And I'm going to screen the front of camo net. So that'll be my next job. Let's go have a look at that. Now the camo net I'm going to use is this lightweight camo from Jack Pike. I get this into order, but it's great, it's lightweight. It does rustle a little bit in the wind, but not too bad. And it's very similar to the army camo, but it's not on a string mesh. And I'm going to hang it up with a bit of paracord I've nicked from the shop. Right, so what I've done, I'm going to put a little ridge line up, and on that ridge line I've tied a lot of Prusik knots. These are great little knots. They can slide left and right, but when you put pressure on them, they stop. Ideally the cordage on the ridge line wants to be thicker than the Prusik knot. It bites a bit easier. But if the cordage is the same size and you wanted to bite that bit tighter with a Prusik knot, instead of just looping it around twice, just do it 3 or 4 times and that'll do the job. Right, so the net's all up, it's all tied on. I'm just going to lift it up into place. It's a little bit more lightweight than I thought, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to staple some more on the front of the hide as well, just to give an extra bit of camouflage. Right, let's get on with it. Right, there's the camo net all complete. So I've got a screen along the front, a couple of cutouts obviously for looking out of and shooting out of. Then I stapled some net as well to the front of the hide and on the shutters. So that's all done. Plus up here, there's some decoys, pigeons, got my squirrel feeder. And a couple of perches for the birds as well. So it's not just for shooting pigeons and squirrels, it's also for feeding the little songbirds and watching them. Well, there we are guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. It's a brand new channel. And yeah, if you want to see some more videos, check them out. But that's it for now. So as I said before, thanks for watching and I'll catch you next time. All the best.
Damn.